All right, we are here in Des Moines, Iowa. This little area here is called Gray's Station, and this is a new development. I believe traditionally they had some like old warehouse factories, things down here, but I believe this was also kind of a floodplain. So it's just to the north of Gray's Lake Park, which is right over across from that bridge. If you can see that bridge in the background, that goes over to Gray's Lake Park. Circle, it's like a 2-mile loop around the park. Anyway, the point of this video is really, again, just to kind of show the epitome of what is going on, again, with housing, because as you can see, all these lofts over here, they're very nice, but this whole area is newly developed about probably 5, 6, 7 years ago, before COVID, before 2020 and the COVID-19 shutdowns. This area was really not that developed. It was starting to get developed, but it was really around that time that everything kind of exploded. That coincided with some lower interest rates. With the lower interest rates, housing prices absolutely shot up through the window. And of course, then once the housing prices went up, they stayed up, even though interest rates, which were very, very low, like 3%, 3.5%, something like that, suddenly all those interest rates started to creep up when Joe Biden came into office, and then housing prices have really not fallen. The growth rate of those housing prices has kind of steadied out, but of course, again, those housing prices are way, way too high. So now, because so many young people, anyone who is certainly under 6 figures, they are building these lofts, which because anyone under 6 figures cannot afford to buy a home, so you buy a loft, or I'm sorry, you rent. You have all these rental units, and again, with these rental units, I'm sure they're nice, I'm sure they're fine, but again, that's one of the big problems is new developers and new builders. The only thing that they're doing is they are putting up these units like at Gray's Landing, and I believe this whole area here will someday just be lofts. And again, that's all that you kind of see off in the background. Rental units, and again, the rent is not cheap on those. I want to say they probably start around like $1,800 a month, which certainly is pretty pricey, pretty expensive if you go by the traditional cost, which would be what you can afford. So affordability, you're probably talking about 25% ideally is what you'd want to pay for housing. Of course, most people are paying well over 25%. Most people are paying 33%, so a third of their household income. Some people, of course, are paying 40% of their household income, and many young people, of course, are paying up to 50% of their household income on housing, which is absolutely absurd. It's ridiculous, but again, that's what we're getting more and more as we see fewer homes being developed, more lofts, more rent. Hubble Homes is huge here. Regency, I believe, used to be in the Des Moines area, but of course, Hubble Homes is where so many of these are being developed, or Hubble Homes is a company that's developing here in Des Moines. And also, I would say too, there's another company called Jerry's Homes, which Jerry Homes is kind of known for their budget builds. People who can't really afford something a little pricier, but I could do some research and find out what most of these buildings here in Gray's Landing are. I believe they are Hubble Homes, which again, it's too bad people are not able to afford housing and they are stuck with this. But again, there's huge demand. I mean, they're just insane demand for rentals, because if people can't afford a $355,000 home, $400,000 home, and they don't want to live in a slum, and they want something bigger than, just like a 1-2 bedroom quote unquote starter home that's going to cost you anywhere upwards of $200,000 this time, day and age, is because they're not building more starter homes, as I've talked about. So ideally, an 800 square foot 1-2 bedroom home should not be much more than $150,000, but now those homes are going easily for well over 200. But so if you want a decent neighborhood, I mean, especially in the Des Moines metro, which we're not too huge, Des Moines is like the quintessential mid-size city. You couldn't get more mid-sized city than Des Moines. Des Moines proper is about 250,000, so 225,000 people or so. The metro, probably about 750,000, just under, 750,000, depending on what counties you put in there. But the suburbs are growing. Des Moines is growing, and if you look off in the distance, and actually let me walk up here. I go through this little field here. Try not to get eaten up by mosquitoes, because I know there are some out here. Although, I'll be real right now, it's not nearly as bad as what it was a couple years ago. So I think they have sprayed in this area. Hopefully I don't get poison ivy on me. But yeah, if you look over here toward downtown, past these lofts, you can actually see, and it's not a great angle of the building, but I believe that is 515 Walnut. I'll try to zoom in on it. Pardon my breathing, I'm fat and out of shape, but that crane up there, that is 515 Walnut that it is on top of, and it just topped out, I want to say about 33 stories. It's kind of behind there, just to the right of that white building with those white and black vertical lines. So it is a building to the right of that, and really cool building, pretty building, but again, more rentals. And like I said, it probably topped out 33 stories, about 350 feet tall. But yeah, you're not gonna find anything probably under $1,800, $2,000 a month for those. And again, if we go by the traditional rule of thumb for housing, which again we should, because we have to save, we have to invest, we have to put money away for retirement, we have to be able to live life, right? We shouldn't be house broke or house poor, as they say. But if you have a $2,000 a month rental and you figure ideally 1/4 of your income, okay, who in the world is making $8,000 a month in income? Even if they are doing all these side hustles. And again, I think a lot of the, pay, what we've seen is pay is increasing, but certainly inflation is increasing at a much higher rate than pay. And you could even make the argument that there is an inflation of what people are being paid. It wasn't too long ago, a $50,000 salary was considered very respectable, right? $50,000 a year, and it's like, no, you weren't rich, you weren't going to brag about it, but certainly you were not going to be hurting in any kind of way. You should not be struggling traditionally with a $50,000 income. And when I mean traditionally, I mean, any year that starts with a 2, so the 2000s clear up till now, but are really clear up to about 2020. But again, everything changed. It was a great reset of our culture. It was a great reset of our society and the economy, where now what was a respectable income in 2019 of $50,000 is now like not that great. It could be worse, but 50,000, I mean, again, you might be struggling a little bit if you're trying to find a home in a safe area, in a clean area, in a quiet area where you can leave your door unlocked and not have to worry about your vehicle being broken into, or not have to worry about your home being broken into, or a bunch of noise, or people screaming in the middle of the night, or revving their engines very loudly in the middle of the night and just causing all sorts of different things. An area where you don't have broken bottles, where you don't have cigarette butts lying everywhere, an area where the police aren't called every other day to your neighborhood. If you want to live in a nice, clean, quiet neighborhood, I mean, my goodness gracious, you are talking, $1,800, $2,000 a month, and it's a shame. It's not meant to be that way in this country, but again, that's what we're seeing. And again, I say the big problem is because people are not getting equity. And how can you get equity if you go rent a loft and spend $2,000 a month here at Gray's Station, or Gray's Landing, or whatever this is called? Again, you just will not be able to save up for a down payment. You will not be able to afford a house while you're paying this exorbitant rent, unless somehow you have a good social, like a good financial social safety network of parents who can help you with the down payment or anything like that. But again, it's just not happening in this day and age, and it's tragic. It's a shame. It is great, I will say, to see development here. There was nothing here. I'm glad there is development. You could have a debate on the benefits and harms of gentrification, which is honestly what a lot of this is. Okay, great, they're building stuff, it's better than it going to waste. But on the other hand of that, again, we're gonna have a generation of people who are houseless. And again, I don't say homeless, but I say houseless, and it's too bad, but that's what we see in America. So what do you think? Am I completely off base? Do you think this is as big of a problem as I make it out to be in my channel? Do you think it's okay that we have a rental society, or that we as America are going from a home ownership society to a rental society? And again, I think I quoted in another video, what was it, the National Retail Realtors Institution. It was some kind of realtors institution, and they published some information, and they said here in 2025, 26, the average age of a first-time home buyer is now about 40 years old, which is insane. Truly, truly, remarkably, horribly awful, just complete madness. It's like, to quote Brando in Apocalypse Now, you look at a statistic like that, and all you can do is look at it and frown and say, the horror. And it is horrifying that the average age of the first time home buyer in America is 40 years old. It cannot continue. But again, that's what we're getting. So what do you think? Please leave a comment. All 5 of you who are watching, please like this video and please subscribe. It'll help me out. Hopefully I can get to 1,000 subscribers, but we'll see what happens. And again, thank you very much. Have a beautiful and wonderful day. All right, so just wanted to show a few clips there of Gray's station here. So again, looks like a very nice, clean area, kind of your epitome of gentrification. But again, what is this doing when we have so many people who, again, are unable to afford housing in this country? And of course, we have so many people who are in a position where they have to rent. So that's just kind of the way it is. Again, I am glad to see this developed. I'm glad to see that it is very unlike what this was 10, 15 years ago, where there was just absolutely nothing and it was kind of in a state of disarray, and now people live here. Again, it's great that it's cleaned up, that it's nice. This appears to be a safe neighborhood, although for some reason they don't like dogs. That's kind of sad, but I'm guessing no dogs on this turf here. But that's what we see. So benefits and harms of this, but again, I think it does not address the issue of where we are going if we are a society of people, citizens who do not own property. And America has always been envisioned as a nation of individual property rights and individual property ownership as a means of financial independence. So again, what do you think? What are your thoughts? Please post down below in the comments. And again, thank you for liking and subscribing.